What's up, everyone? Today, I have a video for you of Roddy Piper. Yes, I'm finally going to do it. I'm still waiting on that last Legion of Doom magazine. Who knows when it will be in? It might be in Monday. I don't know, but I want to do this now because of Zeke Zanzibar having that weird, bizarre dream that I did a Roddy Piper magazine look at the cover. So let's take a look at Roddy Piper, okay? Let's start off with August 82 Sports Review Wrestling. Will the Piper-Rich feud destroy Georgia wrestling? Let's get Piper here. Come on, there we go. Next up, Sports Review Wrestling, November 82. Roddy Piper regains the Mid-Atlantic title, and he owes it all to the Georgia fans. We have, get this right, there we go. The Wrestler, March 83, Showdown in Charlotte. Roddy Piper's title match with Ric Flair ends in chaos. So at the time, Roddy Piper was wrestling in Georgia Championship Wrestling and in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Either doing, sometimes he was a villain in one and a babyface in the other. Sometimes he was both in one, and it was he was all over the place during this time frame. June 83 of Sports Review Wrestling, Roddy Piper, Florida's most misunderstood wrestler, and now he's gone to Florida, apparently. So he's hitting all those territories down there in the, I guess that would be southeast? Yes, southeast of the USA. PWI August 83, you can win a phone call from Roddy Piper, and I believe that did happen. So that was a legit thing from what I understood. Inside Wrestling, September 83, Piper loses U.S. title to Greg Valentine. Is this the end of Roddy Piper? As you can see there, Piper's ear bleeding really bad. That's what created the entire angle for Starrcade with the dog collar chain match. Which was a non-title match too at Starrcade, which makes me think that Piper knew he was leaving the Mid-Atlantic area to go to the WWF. Like, why would Piper win the match but not the United States Championship at Starrcade, right? It made no sense. For the November 83, we get Harley Race on the cover of PWI, but we get a nice-looking shot there of the Hot Rod. Let's see what's his deal is here. If I can turn this. Some of these old magazines are very hard to, because the paper gets weird, right? His favorite, he doesn't really say, he just talks and all this. I like it when they just straight up say what his favorite move and all that crap is. I'll just throw that up here anyways for now. The Wrestler Annual, Winter 83, we got Piper on the cover there. Why Ric Flair says Roddy Piper is too smart for his own good. Sports Review Wrestling, March 84. We see the Piper Valentine bloody dog collar match there on the bottom there, from showing off the winners and the losers of Starrcade 83 that year. Let's see, what is this one? Oh, never mind. I don't have the color pinup in that one. Thought I did. Okay, next up, July 85. Where we got Hogan and Piper on the cover. Let's get it on. Emphasizing it's time to have the war to settle the score between those two men, which, of course, led up to WrestleMania. September 85, Inside Wrestling. A psychologist examines Roddy Piper. Is he as crazy as you think he is? No, he's not. Let me fix this now. There we go. The Wrestler, December 86. Warning to Hulk Hogan. If you trust Roddy, you will pay the piper. Because Piper was on the verge of becoming a good guy. And this WWF magazine right here proves it. December 86, January 87. Roddy Piper, is he marching to a different drummer? Yes. Is the Hot Rod becoming a good guy? Is he going to do it for the fans and help Hulk Hogan out? Well, time will tell. And time did tell because January 87, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Great Scott, Roddy Piper turns good. So the Hot Rod is now a babyface. He's now going to be going into a program soon with adorable Adrian Adonis, leading to WrestleMania 3. And we get to see that here in January 87 of Inside Wrestling. The new Roddy Piper, why the fans love him, but why they should hate him. But there he is there with the flower shop situation with adorable Adrian Adonis. Cowboy Bob Orton now wearing a pink cowboy hat to be with Adonis. Jimmy Hart at their side. So it was a complete 180 from the Hot Rod that we knew from just months earlier. Inside Wrestling, February 87, the WWF's Hate Triangle, Hogan, Piper, and Orndorff. Yes, that's true. When Orndorff went heel, Piper went face. They kind of switched roles in 1986 there. The Wrestler Annual, Spring 87, there it is again. Warning to Hulk Hogan, if you trust Roddy Piper, if you trust Rowdy Roddy, you will pay the piper. There we go. Sports Review Wrestling, April 87. We get again on the cover there, the flower shop scene with Adonis and Piper. That was a huge thing if you remember watching. I believe that was on... Was that before Superstars? Or during Super... I'm trying to remember now, because they kind of went from doing... They brought out WWF Superstars and Wrestling Challenge in, I think, September of 1986. I think that may have happened on Superstars, thus leading back to the new version of Piper's Pit, the new look of it. So I think so, if my memory is correct on that. Inside Wrestling, June 87, Roddy Piper's retirement. How long will it last? That's right, the Hot Rod was going to leave wrestling after WrestleMania 3 and become a Hollywood icon. That was the plan, and he kind of became an icon in Hollywood with the movie They Live, which is a great movie. Put on those sunglasses, man. That's all you got to do. That fight scene in the alleyway, which looked more like a no-holds-barred wrestling match, that was insane. It was such a good movie. If you haven't seen They Live, I would like to think people have, but if you haven't, you got to see this movie. It's amazing. July 89 of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We get Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on the cover, but we get a color pinup of Roddy Piper. Let's take a look at this. There it is. The Hot Rod is back. He's got long hair now. Looks a little different than before. His greatest match was against Adrian Adonis at WrestleMania 3. His most hated opponent was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Favorite maneuver, the sleeper hold, and his toughest opponent was Greg the Hammer Valentine. The Wrestler, November 89. Roddy Piper pins Randy Savage, and Hulk Hogan is scared stiff. Hot Rod wearing like long red, like Billy Gunn-like tights there too, not wearing the usual trunks that he wore in his career. The WWF Magazine, December 89. Roddy Piper, riled by Rude. That's right, Piper back in the WWF. His first angle, his first feud, ravishing Rick Rude. All thanks to SummerSlam 89 when Piper mooned Rick Rude, costing Rude to lose the Intercontinental Championship back to the Ultimate Warrior. We would then get a Piper-Rude feud that pretty much only happened at Survivor Series that year in the 4-on-4 elimination match. They did have a huge cage match at Madison Square Garden. It is on a Coliseum home video. I believe it's also on Piper's DVD that came out. So it was a really good match. But I feel like that match should have been at WrestleMania. It would have been the perfect match at WrestleMania. But Piper didn't really like losing on TV, so maybe that's why. They would have had to have Rude go over because Rude was going in to work the program at Warrior at SummerSlam, so maybe that's why they didn't do it. February 90, Inside Wrestling, a sex symbol showdown. Rude's out, Piper's in, and the fans love it. Sports Review Wrestling, February 1990. Roddy Piper, the Red Hot Scott. That's right, he made the cover there for that one. A good shot of Piper, too. March 90, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, we get a small photo there of Piper versus Savage from that match that Piper defeated Savage in. Again, I don't think that has any video footage. I know they've wrestled on Coliseum videos, but I don't ever remember seeing Piper wearing those long red, like bicycle style tights that Billy Gunn wears in any of his matches on video. Sports Review Wrestling, July 1990. It's WrestleMania 6. We get Bad News Brown and Roddy Piper there in the corner. Of course, that was the match where Piper painted half his body black. Super, super crazy to think, right? Like back then, shit like that was a little more accepted in society. Nowadays, there's no way you could do that. I really don't know what Hot Rod was thinking with that. I remember I heard Bad News Brown say in a shoot interview that, you know, Piper was lucky that Brown didn't like kick his ass, because let's be honest, that is racist, the whole blackface thing. I think everyone knows what the situation is with blackface, and it's ridiculously stupid. Though our own Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did blackface, and somehow he's still cherished and loved in Canada by idiots. I don't understand that, but whatever. To each their own, right? WWF Wrestling Spotlight, volume number 12. We get the Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. Look at the Hot Rod there. That's a good look. That's the outfit he usually wore when he was doing commentary in 1990, 91 for WWF pay-per-views and such. That jean jacket with the pink, I don't know if it's pink, I guess it's pink lining underneath. Yeah, that's a cool look though. March 91, The Wrestler, warning to the Ultimate Warrior, Roddy Piper wants you. I don't know what he wants him for, but he clearly wants him, so there we go. Sports Review Wrestling, March 91. It's the 1990 year in pictures, and we get Roddy Piper returns there at the bottom. And he did return in a big way in 1990. We saw the Hot Rod fully back in the ring there for a while. Like I said, with matches with Rick Rude, Bad News Brown. And then he kind of got out of it again. But to get back into it with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase come 1991, which that was an entertaining feud with Virgil and such, that whole angle. Inside Wrestling, April 91, we get a small photo of the Hot Rod up there. I don't know if you can see it. It says, are the fans pinning their hopes on the wrong man for the Intercontinental title? Piper would win that title, but it wasn't going to be until 1992. The Wrestler, November 91. Again, we get Roddy Piper faces reality. He's through. His body just can't handle it anymore. Now, there is some truth to that. Roddy Piper was going through some physical situations with his body, mainly his hip. And I know if you watched WCW in 1996 and 97, you know the story there. The NWO attacked Roddy Piper's hip. There's a giant scar on his leg, his thigh, leg up to his hip. You could see it. He had I'm guessing it was a hip replacement or something done with his hip. And there's proof. His body was breaking down, which is funny because Hot Rod, when you look back at his matches, didn't do a whole lot of bumps. He wasn't really a bump machine, but the rings back then were so hard and the wear and tear on the body, and probably I'm guessing he probably did excess, pills to make himself bigger back in the day at times. It's wear and tear big time on the body. February 92 of The Wrestler. Shocking WWF report. McMahon offers bounty on Flair. Will Vince pay the Piper? That's right. Ric Flair comes to the WWF in 1991, and the first feud he gets handed is Roddy Piper, his old nemesis from Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in the NWA territory. And hardcore fans remember that. I didn't at the time. I just knew that Flair coming in to wrestle Piper right off the bat was a huge deal because Piper's a big name, Flair's a big name. This is perfect. Who can forget that moment on WWF Superstars of Wrestling? Flair comes out for his match, sees Piper at the announce booth, goes up and tries to talk to him, harass him. They end up getting in a struggle and a fight. Piper goes down. He picks up the wooden chair. He thinks he's hitting Flair with it. but he lays out Vince McMahon with the wooden chair, and Vince goes down face first to the ground, selling it like no other. And at the time, I thought that was super crazy. This is Vince McMahon, the commentator. I didn't even really know Vince McMahon was the owner at the time. At my stupid mind, I would have been 10 years old. I thought Jack Tunney was actually running the WWF. He was the president, Jack Tunney. I really did think that at that age. I didn't find out until years later that Vince McMahon actually ran and owned the entire promotion. So that was insane to see back then as a 10-year-old kid that, wow, commentator Vince McMahon got laid out by Rowdy Roddy Piper with a wooden chair. Sports Review Wrestling, March 92. We get Piper and Flair at the bottom there for the 1991 year in pictures. Like I said, that was a big feud for Flair when he first came into the company. And he ended up, I think he worked with Piper and then he started working with Hogan a bit. And then he'd work with Piper still. Because I remember when Flair was champion when he won at the Royal Rumble, he was wrestling Piper in matches where Piper was Intercontinental Champion and Flair was champion. They were having cage matches. Flair was coming out on top, the winner. But there are some photos out there of Piper holding up both belts. And actually, I do have that. Actually, before I go too far, I just remember that now. I do have that magazine. Let me get to it here. Yeah. It's this one. Okay, I'll show you that photo because I kind of forgot it existed till I'm talking about this right now. Pretty sure it's in this. It's in Caged. Just give me a second here to find it. I'm 100%. Yeah, there we go. So here we have it. Roddy Piper and Ric Flair in a cage match. It's in Utica and Niagara Falls, New York. I guess they did 2 matches or so. February 92. And if you look close, there's Piper with the Intercontinental and WWF title. So yes, he kind of did that angle. I remember they did it back in 1989 with the Warrior versus Savage, where Warrior was Intercontinental champ, Savage was heavyweight champ. There's pictures of Savage holding both the Intercontinental and heavyweight title up because he won via count out and he thought he won both belts. So I'm guessing Piper just took both belts after Flair won that cage match is my guess. I believe Shawn Michaels used to interfere a lot in those matches too for some reason. I'm pretty sure I read that on the arena reports in the PWI magazines that Michaels would interfere and help Flair beat Piper. March 92 for the WWF magazine, we get Roddy Piper on there with Flair, Sid, Undertaker, Hogan, and Savage. That, of course, was them talking about who was going to face Flair for the championship at WrestleMania 8. Lot of great top challengers there. Of course, it went to the Macho Man, Randy Savage. June 92 for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We get an exclusive PWI interview. Roddy Piper speaks out. I really do scare Flair and I scare Hogan. Sid Justice is nothing. Bret Hart put his tail between his legs. Quotes from the Hot Rod himself in that PWI interview there. Next up, we got Wrestling Superstars, August 92. It's rating the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, and we see at the bottom there, Roddy Piper giving Bret Hitman Hart the Bulldog. WrestleMania 8, the Intercontinental title match where Piper gets pinned cleanly in the middle of the ring by the Hitman, a 1-2-3, and Bret Hart is your 2-time Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania 8. For a special limited edition WWF Collector's Series magazine, we get the World Wrestling Federation's most unusual matches in Showdown. That has Roddy Piper there on the cover with Goldust from WrestleMania 12 in that Hollywood backlot brawl street fight they had where Piper broke his hand in that match. He actually would punch Goldust legit in the face. You could hear it. It was such a brutal match. It was they went all out to make it look realistic, and they did awesome. Of course, Piper made the backlot completely wet with a hose. And I remember hearing Vince McMahon say, and Pat Patterson, like, why should we do that? Because they taped that fight the day before WrestleMania. So they were going to air that in the pay-per-view and then do the live stuff in the ring at WrestleMania. So Piper said to Vince, what if it rains tomorrow? Why would we'd be wrestling outside and there's no rain? So let's make it look like it rained. Genius thinking by the Hot Rod, because that is true. I mean, if you're wrestling outside one day and you're showing it the next, what if the weather is different, right? So that was smart thinking by Roddy Piper. And I didn't know any of that until I read his autobiography years ago. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Inside Wrestling, March 97. Roddy looks back at his Rowdy career. So there's another one from a newer style of magazines, the smaller Inside Wrestling. You know, they shrunk them into comic book style. But there we get that. And, of course, The Wrestler, May 97, Hogan's Headache. The pain is Piper, and the remedy is revenge. Well, there we have it. Roddy Piper on the magazine cover. Now, I was a Hot Rod fan. I have both his DVDs, and I have his VHS Coliseum home video. Piper was not the greatest wrestler. I think you'd even say that. He wasn't the greatest worker. He was great at talking, and he was great at making you believe that what you were seeing was real. Piper had a bit of comedy to him. I think back to the Ric Flair giving the atomic drop, the reverse atomic drop to Piper, Piper landing on his feet and doing the 2-finger pokes to the eyes. A lot of Three Stooges-like kind of stuff, right? But it worked. The fans popped on it. They cheered. Piper did airplane spins. He did sleeper holds. He did crazy-looking clotheslines, punches. Really, what did Piper do for wrestling moves, right? I can't think. It's not like Piper had like spots he did of maneuvers. You know, it's not like he had the Bret Hart technique of backbreaker, middle rope elbow, Russian leg sweep, you know, suplex where he throws his feet in the air and all this kind of stuff. He didn't have any of that. Piper was just kind of there with his wrestling. And it worked for Hot Rod. And he was a great, friendly wrestler person outside of the ring too. He did a lot for charities and for hospitals, and he just wanted to give back as much as he could. The story too, I think I've mentioned this before in one of these videos, but in case people didn't see it, I'll say it here. At the shows like Superstars or Wrestling Challenge, when Hot Rod would wrestle, they get like, I think the wrestler gets like $100 or something, right? Like Piper, like the guys on top only get like $100. The job guys get like 500. And Hot Rod would always give his $100 to the guy that he beat. And Don Morocco said once to him, you know, like, brother, why are you doing that? Why are you giving him the money? And Hot Rod goes, because I know I'll be wrestling for the next 30 days. I don't know when this guy's going to be wrestling next. And it's true. These job guys would come in, they would put over the talent. Hot Rod showed respect to them, gave his money to them to help, because Hot Rod didn't need that $100. Hot Rod knew he was going to be making hundreds of dollars for the next, 25, 28, 30 days on the road, selling out Madison Square Garden, the Boston Garden, the Philly Spectrum, Los Angeles Coliseum, or wherever, they did shows at. That just makes sense. So Don Morocco started to do that too, and gave the guy that he would beat his money too. And I think that's kind of cool. That was kind of cool of Roddy Piper, and you kind of get a good look at the Hot Rod on that show that WWE Network put out about I think it's called Legends House, that he was in with guys like Duggan and Jimmy Hart and Pat Patterson and them and Howard Finkel. A really cool show, like a reality, and I say reality with quotations because I'm sure it's not. Clearly no reality show is a reality show. It has to be some script to it. But it was a cool look inside of these guys and a very cool look at what makes Roddy Piper tick. And just a cool dude, man. Hot Rod was cool. It's too bad he's no longer with us, but he left an amazing legacy for everyone to enjoy. So Zeke Zanzibar, there you go. The dream came true. I did a Roddy Piper magazine issue. The funny thing is, I don't even know if Zeke's really a huge Piper fan. He just had this dream. But for all you Piper fans out there, I hope you enjoyed this. Unfortunately, that's all I have for magazine covers of Hot Rod, you know, but it's a good look. We kind of get everything we need to see of Hot Rod in this small little package of a video for him. So, hopefully the Legion of Doom magazine will be in tomorrow, which is Monday. If it is, I can do a video tomorrow. If not, we'll just have to keep waiting. The waiting game is on. I'm waiting for that last one, and then I can do an LOD Road Warriors video. So hold out, fans, for that one. Until then, enjoy this Roddy Piper one. Tell me what your favorite Roddy Piper matches or moments were in his career. For me, like I said, the one where he nailed Vince McMahon with the chair is cool. His Intercontinental title win over the Mountie at the Royal Rumble 92 is amazing to see over and over again, because you could just see the joy and excitement in Piper's face when he realizes he is the new Intercontinental Champion of the WWF. All right, for that one, I'm now done. Until I do my next one, I'll talk to you guys later.